Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Aging podcast, and we are still in series 2 discussing nutrition. We've had some amazing guests already, and we have another one today to speak with. So Susie, could you give our lovely guest an introduction, please?
Yes, of course, Lorraine. And this is exciting for me because this is the first person we've had on the podcast that neither you or I have actually met. And this is what I love about the power of social media and networking. So I'm going to introduce everybody to Kirsty in a little minute, but Kirsty and I met online on a business networking group. So the business networking group is called Inspire, and it's a good friend of mine that runs that group, and they're doing incredible with it. They actually only started it up this year. And Kirsty popped up as somebody who I was really interested in. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got great energy. I love what she's doing, which I'm going to share with you in a second. And she also had like a week of promoting herself and her business it's like a Facebook group that we're in. On that group, I'm saying to promote herself, she was actually there to educate, and she'd done an incredible job of it. So I was so excited when she agreed to join our podcast, because she comes from a very different angle from anybody else that we've spoken to. She's known as the Midlife Transformer. And I'm going to urge everybody, I'm sorry about this, Kirsty, but I'm going to urge everybody to jump onto Facebook and have a look at Kirsty's Facebook, because I did do a little bit Facebook stalking of you, Kirsty. And what I found was how you've transformed over the years is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So you're in your 40s, you looked fantastic in your 30s, but you look a million times better in your 40s. And some of those sexy photographs that you've got up there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could learn a thing or two for Kirsty, that's for sure. So Kirsty, welcome to the podcast. Could you just start by sharing a little bit of your background before we go into our question that we always start with? But I'd love for people just to find out a wee bit more about you, what it is that you do, and then we'll go into that question.
Sure, Sue. Thank you. So my name's Kirsty Wilson. I'm based in the west of Scotland, and originally my first qualification is actually in a science degree. So I have a degree in immunology and pharmacology. So I was always that geeky academic person, still am. She's still in there for sure. And I worked for a pharmaceutical company for about 15 years when I graduated, specialising in infectious diseases. So you can imagine this past year in a pandemic has been fascinating for me, because viruses were what I actually specialised in the end. And I then decided on a whim that I would go and do a postgrad in education. When my children were small, I felt as I was travelling away from home too much. So I combined my interest of the science, got my teaching qualification, then at the very last minute decided that high school teaching wasn't for me and became a primary teacher. Too many people were putting me off teenagers, I'm not going to lie, right? So the whole time I was teaching, I'd started to explore a little bit more becoming a fitness professional. While I was teaching, I got a personal training qualification and just decided that I had to choose between the two careers, and the health and well-being had to be it over the teaching was the bottom line. So I started to have clients at home. So I kind of found a niche in the market right away, that ladies that weren't happy in the gym. I actually trained some couples as well. It wasn't all ladies at the time. And I then went on to get my nutrition coach's qualification and basically continued running both those businesses, the nutrition and the PT, and some combined, until the pandemic. And by that point, I had my studio built outside in the garden. But as soon as we went into the pandemic, my whole business went online. And it really has changed the way I work from then on. And then most ladies that were coming to me, as you can imagine, are similar ages to myself, because you've got the appeal when you're older, you've got that understanding. So I basically made it my business to learn as much as I could about the changes that happen to women in this stage of their lives. So, you know, I am a menopause wellbeing coach, is I suppose the way I look at it, because I approach from a very holistic point of view. So my clients check in with me. I want to know how they've slept, how their stress is, how everything in their life's coming together in the week before we make a plan for them. So, you know, that's where I see myself at the moment. I have managed to get involved in lots of training that officially I'm not supposed to, in the sense that I've now completed the Louise Newson programme that's for GPs and pharmacists, because I basically said, this is my background, will you have me? And they said, okay. So, you know, I do give women a lot of help as well, regards advice when it comes to approaching their GPs for menopause care as well. So we're looking at every part of a lady's life when it comes to these years of our life. And I am perimenopausal myself just now. So, you know, I'm in the thick of
it. Oh, listen, I absolutely love this. There's tons of questions that I'm definitely not going in my head, but I've been a woman in my early 40s as well. So, but yeah, so we always start the podcast in the same way, Kirsty, which is to ask, what would your top 3 tips for healthy ageing be?
So the first one would definitely be strength training. Without a doubt, I call that my non-negotiable. So when you work with me, you know, you might not start it from day one, but it's a non-negotiable. If you want to age well, then it has got to have that big green tick. The second one is, and I've actually I give this a lot of thought when people question me about how to age best, but actually maintaining a healthy weight. But then that very much leads into number 3, was, apart from maintaining a healthy weight, actually having a very nutritious diet has got to be, you know, it's probably the number 1, right? I've done it in reverse order, but having a nutritious diet. But I think having the weight thing in there is important as well, because one of the most unhealthy things we can be is carrying about too much weight.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we started the nutrition series, what was that, just a few weeks ago. And when we start a new series, we always start with just Lorraine and I. We don't bring on a guest, it's just the 2 of us. And then we start to bring on our guests. And Lorraine and I come from a very different background when it comes to healthy ageing, but certainly when it comes to nutrition as well. And Lorraine is somebody who has been challenged most of her life with her weight. Whereas me, I always look at nutrition from health. So we actually look at nutrition completely differently, or we used to. And we spoke a lot about all the diet type of things that are out there. Because see, I'm not into the diet industry. I don't like the diet industry because I just feel that there's a lot of false advertising in it. And it has females, I'm saying females, but has a lot of people, they get a lot of false information because of it. And that's why I've always been about health rather than diet, because if you eat a healthy diet, you will be naturally slim because you're healthy, you know. So I love that you bring it up about a nutritious diet and maintaining a healthy weight, because too many people, they're so focused on losing the weight that they actually don't care if they're healthy. They just care about losing the weight. And it's also one of the things, because it's interesting that you work in exercise as well, because I see that a lot in gyms as well, Kirsty, and we actually talk about fitness in our next series, but I see it in gyms a lot, where a lot of people they're so focused on getting fit, but they don't care about their health. You know, so it's understanding that you've got to have all of them in alignment. They've all got to be married up for you to age well. So is that something you would agree with what I've said?
No, absolutely. I think I would throw a spanner in the works regards people being healthy and following a healthy diet will be slim, because it's not always the case, right? Right. There is so much comes in. I have clients start with me. In fact, if you've had a look around my page, you might have spotted a client that I had, Lorraine, who I think is about 56 at the moment. And she came to me and she wasn't overweight, but her body composition wasn't the way she would like. It's a little bit more fat than she would like, and she wanted to gain some more muscle. And she says, I don't want to start keeping a food diary for you. Now, I wasn't a nutrition coach actually at that time. She said, I eat really healthy. I'm happy just to eat healthy. I'm here because I know strength training is really good for my bones at this stage in my life. So, you know, she was switched on. So we let Lorraine continue. And Lorraine was actually starting to lay down muscle quite quickly. Now, that's not easy for women, but when you start a new type of exercise or you've never trained before, you can lay down muscle quite quickly. So she was finding that her blouses and things were starting to get quite tight in her. because she was gaining some muscle, but she was also not getting rid of any of the fat. So when we started to delve deeper into Lorraine's nutrition, oh, it was amazing. I mean, breakfast was porridge oats with a banana, with flaxseed, chia, with berries. But when you actually looked at the volume of it, was far too much for what a woman of 5 foot and 53 to say at the time. So she was eating far too much food, although it was healthy. So there's this misconception. I got lots of people starting, and I look at food diaries, and there's a whole avocado in there for breakfast. We don't need a whole avocado. Now, if you can eat a whole avocado alongside everything else and you maintain a healthy body weight, brilliant. But there, you know, for ladies that come to me that can be, say, 8 stone overweight, the most important thing for me, yes, I would love to say this is the way I would love your food to look in week 1, but it's not realistic. The most important thing for me is to get that lady into a healthy weight bracket. So we're looking predominantly first at how much she eats before I look at what she eats.
Wow. That's really interesting. Something I would never have thought of, Kirsty. Like, you know, just would never ever have thought of that. I love that.
I mean, I think that it's in a perfect world, clients would come to me and I would say, here's the perfect plate that exists for menopause. And I actually kind of think that does exist. I would like people's breakfast, lunch, and dinner to look a certain way. And I try to eat as close to that as I can, right? Because you've got to enjoy it as well. But if you have someone that's coming to you that their diet is all over the place, they have lots of takeaway meals, they have highly palatable, high sugary, salt and fatty foods, they're not going to manage. It's too big an undertaking. Yeah. Right? So realistic goals to begin with, and then, you know, we work towards that perfect plate.
Yeah. Oh, I love this, because I think, like, we hear so much that it's as simple as, you know, what goes in, then what comes out, you know, and it's all just a science, it's all just energy balance. And, you know, and although we understand that is like, you know, the basis of things, yeah. But as women of a, I'd hate saying of a certain age, as if, you know, but when we're going
to a fabulous age,
you know, there's hormonal changes to consider, there's busy lives, there's stress to consider. Like, it's so much more than that, isn't it? And I think for me, a big part of it is feeling out of control with food a lot of the time. So it's just, you know, it's not that I don't know what to eat. It's not that I don't know how to go and make that type of food. It's just that sometimes my life is so busy, I eat something that is bad, and then I give myself a hard time about that. Then I think, oh, well, I may as well just have like whatever, not the healthy option I was going to have at night. I may as well just have this now tonight. And then that just starts spiraling, and then you get a wee bit out of control. Then you go, right, that's it. I'm having fruit every day for breakfast. I'm making salad every day for lunch. Like, it's all in or all out. And I think it's just, for me, it's what is that balance, and what are all the things you have to consider. So I think you'll be a bit of an expert in this field, Kirsty.
I mean, what you're saying, in some ways, it's music to my ears because you're talking my language, but on the other hand, it kind of saddens me because I hear it every single day. And 2 ladies last week, when I was doing just Zoom check-ins, I had hair standing up in my arms because the words they both used in the same day to me was, thank you, I'm back in control of my body. So when you said that there, you know, it does give me goosebumps. And I think, you know, these women are actually kind of along their menopause journey a little, so they kind of felt more out of control when they first sought out to work with me. And I do sometimes think I've given myself a difficult job, because I see lots of fitness professionals out there and people also that are calling themselves menopause coaches, and they're actually doing amazing jobs at flying the flag and speaking lots of sense. However, it is very much, again, this is what you should be doing. So what I try to do is take in the fact that it's just not as easy as that. So, you know, the online course that I'm running with 8 ladies at the moment, it's a 12-week course. I mean, this whole week is only on emotional and mindful eating. Now, that comes up the whole course, but this whole week is that. They've actually got content every day just on that. They have podcasts to watch. they have tonight, we've got our coaching call, and it's about exploring why women use food for comfort, why we eat when we're not hungry. And that's actually what has totally changed my life, Lorraine. And I would just say, even in the past 2 years, I've had a total revelation from the fact that now, based on mindful eating, so tuning into when I'm really hungry and when I'm really satisfied, has changed my life. I don't do food diaries. I don't count calories anymore. I used to. But now I actually eat when I'm hungry. And I eat till I'm satisfied. And I used to think about food all day, every day, from the point of being a dieter and from the point of then doing a bit of bodybuilding, because you're actually counting because you need to eat so much. And it becomes the focus. I've got 2 teenage girls. I didn't want them to see that I'm weighing out a grain of rice, that, I can't have that at a birthday dinner because I'm preparing for a photo shoot. It's my mother-in-law's birthday today. We'll be here. We'll eat cake. There'll be no mention of the fact of that cake. We don't have scales in the house. But having to take all of that into account, as well as all the nutritional needs of women in middle age, is difficult. So we need to take it one day at a time. So if I was working for you, example, what we just discussed, Lorraine, we would start with probably breakfast, and we'd have goals with breakfast, what that should look like. And you would be trying to do that as many of the days in that week you could.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't manage at 7 because human beings aren't good at change. Right? But we would track that habit. We would set you up for success. And then once you've achieved breakfast, and breakfast is looking amazing, we then start saying, right, okay, what's happening at lunch? What's happening with mid-morning snacks? It's all habit-based that I work with people, because it's what works.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Susie, I'm sure you might have some stuff to ask on this, do you, around habits and all of that? I was thinking that I could continue speaking, but I just thought you might have something around some of that.
Well, it's so funny because I'm quite different in all of this, Kirsty. I'm definitely in a smaller percentage of people, in the fact that I can create new habits quickly. I'm very disciplined. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I would be a person that would come to you and you say, you could literally give me the full plan for 12 weeks and I would do it. I'd stick to it. I would, no matter what was going on in my life. And it's because when I commit to doing something, I have a huge desire as to why I'm doing it. And that desire is enough to drive me. Now, obviously, if things come in during life, then that happens. There's things that come in. So actually forming new habits and stuff is not an area where I really focus on, because I am very fortunate that it does happen quite easily for me. What I would love to know, because I don't know a lot about the menopause, I've actually, because I'm so big on my mindset, I'm like, well, if I pretend it's not there, then I'll sail through it. I don't want to hear everybody's bad stories, because everybody's bad stories then gets put into my mind, and that means that might become my bad story one day. So I'm quite good at being a denial person until I'm in it and go, oh my gosh. So I don't really know much about it. I am 46, touch wood. I don't think I've had any symptoms yet. But I've got lots of friends who have went through it, and oh my gosh, I'm like, what's happened to you? When did you become crazy? And we laugh about it, but it's actually not a funny thing, because for them it's just and my husband, his friend, in lockdown, his wife started the menopause in lockdown. He was like, oh my gosh, have you ever given up the house with your wife who's just started lockdown and just started the menopause and you can't escape her? He's like, she's mental.
Oh, that's a shame. I feel for him.
I know, it's just, and at least we can have a laugh about it, but when a female's going through it, my gosh. So what happens with all of that? Is it hormonal changes? Is it tell us a wee bit more about that, if that's okay.
So, the 2 hormones that people tend to focus on when we're talking about menopause are estrogen and progesterone. So the 2 main female hormones. Loads of things happen to insulin, thyroxine, cortisol, and lots of different hormones in the body. But for simplicity's sake, focusing on the female hormones is super important. So our estrogen starts to drop off really from our mid-30s onwards. Now, men, actually, their testosterone drops over the years as well, but it goes at a much slower pace. So they don't have the same kind of acute symptoms that we have. They just kind of eventually turn into grumpy old men, right? Whereas we're psychopathic en route. So when you're in the perimenopause, which can be up to 10 years before the actual menopause. The menopause is the day you've not had a period for 12 months. So that's the menopause, one day. Everything before it's peri, everything after it's post. So the minute you hit perimenopause, that's you for the rest of your days, right? So, you know, between you and I, there's probably a good chance that you're in the perimenopause, and that's great. You don't feel anything. And again, I wouldn't let it. It's not who we are, but there's lots of ways through appreciating it that we can make our health better. And that's where I come from. It can be the best years of your life if you know your choices, know your options. And too many women are living in the dark. So estrogen starts to drop off, progesterone starts to drop off. Now, the problem with estrogen dropping off is estrogen receptors are through every part of the body, from your brain to the tips of your toes, so everything's affected. And instead of that slow decline like men get with their testosterone, in perimenopause, it does this. So that's one day why ladies think they're going to axe murder their whole family, and then the next day they're absolutely brand new. So that's why that happens, right? So imagine like PMT, which actually I never suffered from. My husband is quite lucky, and probably we thank our lucky stars because he's in the house with 2 teenage girls, me, perimenopausal, and even the dog's a female, right? So just as well I don't get PMT, the poor guy. So that estrogen's fallen off. So the important bit that women want to hear about is the changes that causes to body shape, right? Health for me is always paramount. When we get health right, then we do start to feel better, look better, and I like to cascade it in that order. But we live in a world that has been really aesthetic driven over the years. Women believe the pressures from others they put in themselves that they should look a certain way. So that's when originally when women come to me, their thoughts are because they're starting to get more weight around their bellies, arm fat, back fat. And that happens because as our estrogen drops off, we start to lay down fat in a more male pattern way. So the men with our guts, right? So that's why men have actually got a higher risk of cardiovascular disease than women when we're younger. But when we're postmenopausal, our risk of cardiovascular disease really goes up too. And it's because we are carrying this fat in different areas of the body. So about 75% of women gain about up to 10 kilos through the perimenopause.
Wow.
So and yes, the science that a calorie deficit is still the way it works, but the problem is that it's just more challenging. If you're exhausted, if you're not sleeping, if you have a bad relationship with food in the past, and as you age, both men and women, you're losing muscle mass, hence the importance of the strength training, you've not got as much muscle that's burning up calories. You're usually more sedentary as you age. So all of this leads to ladies gaining weight. They feel as though they've developed bellies overnight. And actually, the truth is they've gradually got less active. Their muscles wasting. Muscle wastes again in every decade from your 30, the same as bone density. So we need to actively go out to change that. So that's how we're physically impacted. The rest of the body, we're focusing on nutrition today, but the rest of the body is affected. So that's the reason mood swings, irritability, anxiety, depression, that's all because there's no estrogen, not as much estrogen in the brain. Also, progesterone has a calming effect on the brain, and we're reducing that too. So progesterone in the past maybe would have been a buffer for that stress, right. And now there's less of that buffer. So it's an absolute hormonal storm going on, is the best way to describe it. So, when you ask me about a healthy aging, the one thing that I wish I'd been for, because de-stress is a huge one too.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got a physical stressed out situation. The last thing we want is more physical and mental stress coming in upon us.
So, Kirsty, I've got, there's a lady that, I don't know if I mentioned her to you. So I'm a part owner of a CrossFit gym. And I was speaking to one of the girls in the CrossFit gym who is perimenopausal, is that what you call it?
Yeah.
So she's perimenopausal and she's very fit, she's very healthy, but her thing is exactly what you said. You know, she's starting to put weight around the tummy. So if you're already fit and healthy, so you're already eating well and you're already doing your strength training, etc., do you just have to accept that that's what's going to happen? Your body shape is going to change, or is it a case of the diet does need to be looked at, because exactly like what you said, it could be healthy, but it's maybe not what you're needing as your body's going through these changes?
Yes, both. So,
right.
Firstly, I would say, and because I'm very much an advocate of this, is that women do need to be kinder to themselves. So we are not trying to achieve the bodies we had when we were 20, and that's not the mindset I want people to get into. The mindset that I speak from is your body can be stronger and fitter than it's ever been before. And we need to now think, as you know, depressing as it may sound, what our elderly years are going to be like. Are we going to be able to lug the compost into the trolley at B&Q? Are we going to be able to run about at the park with potential grandkids? Are we going to be able to look after ourselves without in hospital with bone fractures? And if that means, like, we are going to have a little bit of a tummy, and that's okay, right? So this isn't about trying to achieve six packs, right? However, I do have a lot of clients with flat tummies who have been through all this, but you have to dig that little bit deeper. So no one's saying it's easy, right? But I have a lot of ladies that will come to me that are maybe like a healthy weight range. And this is the thing that we need to be careful with. So if you're someone that comes to me that's a size 12 in clothes, your chance of cardiovascular, and you're eating healthily and training, your increased risk of cardiovascular disease is low. You're actually operating in a healthy weight bracket. So that is where I'd be coming back to something you've said already. So it is about, why do you want this?
Yeah.
Let's dig this little bit deeper. Why is a size 8? What's this going to do? It's not going to do anything to your life. People just think it is, right? So it's establishing all of that. It's not going to make you happier, right? I'm every bit as happy. I'm about a stone heavier than I was when I did the photo shoot last year. Was I happier then? No, maybe thought I was going to be. But, I love the fact that I've been through and done all this, because I've always got the different perspectives on it. But when most people start a written food diary, there's usually things that can be tweaked. So see if you're someone that's just noticing a bit of belly weight, but isn't stones overweight, those clients are actually usually quite easy for me, because it's tweaks that are needed here and there. We're not at an age now that we can over-restrict. We can't cut out carbs. They're a huge source of energy. We need healthy fats in there. Protein needs to be absolutely number one. We can maximize, so I'd be maximizing your diet through nutrition. But for someone that wants to lose a bit of the weight, some clients, it's just a case of, the 2 glasses of wine they have 3 nights a week. I'm not saying don't drink. I drink alcohol, but that could be enough to stop them from being in a calorie deficit. It might be having that half an avocado when actually, 30 grams, a quarter of an avocado is a better portion. It may be that they only need, 4 tablespoons of rice at night rather than 8. So the plate that I like to describe to people that your plate should look like ideally, and to be honest, it goes for the whole population, but a half of your plate should be your vegetables, your salads, your fruits. A quarter should be your protein, so around a palm size of protein. So that's your lean meat, your fish, your chicken, your tofu, your soya, your eggs should be a palm size. And then the other quarter of the plate, your starchy carbohydrates. But I would like to just kind of have, there's a bit of a caveat there with them. If you were 20 coming to me and said, will I eat white rice or brown rice? I've got a lot of weight to lose. I would say it doesn't matter. But at this age, it does. We we need the slow release carbohydrates, the carbohydrates that have got the lower glycemic index. So we want whole grain everything, whole grain rice, pastas, breads, rye breads. Our bodies just can't cope as well with the simple sugars as our estrogen drops. So if you have honey, maple syrup, white sugar in your tea, too many biscuits, cakes, all the things with simple sugars, you eat them, your body can cope with them really easy because they're super small molecules. So you get a sugar high. Now, what happens after a sugar high? A crash. So that can affect your mood, which is definitely not what we're wanting to do in the perimenopause as it is. So let's not just add any more flames to that fire. But from a point of view, feeling low, feeling tired, but also when excess glucose, this sugar is buzzing about your bloodstream, if you like, and your body doesn't know what to do with it, it's more likely to be deposited as fat.
Okay.
By eating complex carbohydrates, your vegetables, your whole grains, you have a slower release of sugar throughout the day, which has a good result on your energy levels as well.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where it comes in, the simple calorie deficit. That's where it's not as simple as that, because if you're having the white sugars or those types of sugars, they still can fit within your calories, but actually that's the effect that it's having depending on what age you are and what else you've got going on. So yeah, that's good, because that's the thing that I'm getting to understand now. So it's the way you've kind of explained that is absolutely brilliant. So just something I wanted to ask about was, I don't know if it's that thing, when you get a new car and you've never seen a car like that on the road before, and then all of a sudden you start seeing them. But I feel as if we are talking about menopause a lot more. I don't know if it's just because I'm in my 40s, but I know Davina McCall is doing a whole series on it. It's become much more in the public eye, which I think is absolutely brilliant. Another thing that we, as women, we should be talking about. But we are lucky because we have got a bit of an understanding on the power of nutrition, all of these other things that we can be doing. I just feel that there's probably people that the first thing they do is go to their GP, and it's kind of the road that leads people down straight away if they just go straight to their GP. So just wondered if you had any thoughts on that at all.
I think we are speaking about it more than ever. And again, it's maybe in my household as well, because the children and my husband as well know that it's what I do. So they're pointing out, shouting me last week, all those women are talking about menopause again. And they wouldn't be tuned into it, though, if I wasn't speaking about it. So I think at this age, we're attuned to it. I think what is frightening is, though, I still get messages almost every day of the week, and women do not know any of this. So for every one that knows, there's thousands don't. There's 13 million menopausal women in the UK. And, I've been doing some corporate work recently, and what I love about that is the fact that you're kind of hitting a big audience at once, and that raise of awareness. I think women still need a lot of mindset change from the point of view that it's very much still weight driven. Now, as much as we want to get the healthy weight, there is lots of things you can be doing along the way to improve your health. As far as the GPs are concerned, that's a bit of a double-edged sword as well, because actually there's lots of women out there that should be on HRT that aren't taking it. It is the first line treatment for menopause. And women, in fact, it was my post today on social media about saying don't let menopause dull your smile. So many women are starting antidepressants when it's HRT they should actually be on. Because GPs don't even get 1 week's training in the menopause. They have to now go and access themselves, so that it's not their fault. Personally, at 45 years old, if I was a GP, as a female GP, I can't get my head around why I wouldn't want to be educated in it for even my own sake. But that's not my fight to fight, right?
Yeah.
But what I do is, again, I can't give out medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I actually didn't go and study medicine because I thought I didn't like blood and guts. Now I'm kind of regretting because I quite like them now. But it's health fitness professionals like me that are giving ladies the advice and education so they can go to their GP armed.
Yeah.
As far as, again, a post the other day, just last week I put on, as HRT is not for everyone. Some people take it and don't react well to it. Some people, the odd person, does feel worse on it. So what we have to do, like anything in life, you might have high blood pressure going on there, but you still have to, you know, eat a good nutritious diet to help combat that. And it's the same with menopause. The better our health is in, the better we are going to feel. And I don't like at the moment, and of course I'm not naming any names, but there's so many people really high profiles in the fitness industry that are saying things like, come and do my work and you won't get menopausal symptoms. And it is so unfair on women, because there's women that can't get out their bed in the morning. There's women up with hot flushes, fatigue, depression, anxiety, women that are giving up their work. And they're getting told if they go to the gym and they eat some extra fruit and veg, everything's going to be okay. And that's not going to be the case for a lot of these women, and they do need to seek medical advice.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant.
I think as well, and it is that, it's the more information we can get out there to help people, because exactly like what you say, Kirsty, you know, that the GPs are only getting a small amount of training on it. You know, my background was as a sports therapist, and it would be the same. We would have people coming in with achy muscles and stuff, and the GP wouldn't know what to do with them. The GP would like give them an anti-inflammatory and refer them for physio. But of course, they were having to wait maybe 10, 20 weeks for physio. So that's when they would come for private treatment. And the GPs do an incredible job of what they do. And their job really is to prescribe medicine. But people forget that. People think that a GP can do everything. And there's so much pressure on GPs, I think, because of that. Yeah. People just don't understand that they can't be specialised in everything. Their speciality is to prescribe medicine. And so the more people that we have like yourself, you know, private, well, any physio, not private, physiotherapists or whatever people's speciality is, it's educating people. The GP is a fantastic place to go, but you may have to go and seek other help from somebody like yourself, etc. And I just love what you're doing. It's just brilliant speaking to you and hearing your passion about it and how you're helping. And you know, touch wood, I don't know, I'll maybe be coming to you in the next few weeks, who knows, few years. But it gives me the absolute confidence to know that there's somebody out there that I can go to. Like that just gives me so much peace of mind, going, I am so grateful that I've met Kirsty, because, you know, if I hadn't met you, I don't know what I would have done. You know, I would have been like, what am I going to do? How do I get this under control? And so I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm going to ask you a question that you're just going to laugh at this, but it's been in my head ever since. When you were speaking about foods and like the fact that we should be eating whole grains and stuff, I love bread. I think most people love bread. So it is one of those things that I restrict because I don't believe it's that good for me. So I don't eat a lot of bread, but when I do, I always eat sourdough bread and I love it.
Yeah.
Please tell me that's okay.
Do you know what? As a nutrition coach, the only thing that I don't eat is mouldy food, right? So there's nothing that's off limits. If you were looking to me for nutrition advice, I wouldn't tell you even to cut out white things. What would happen is I still have some white things, you know, I'll put on a post, maybe there's white rice in the plate, and my clients will go, and I go, it's okay, nobody died, right? But the bottom line is, if there's someone we're doing absolutely everything and I'm confident we're ticking every single box and other things aren't changing, then that's what I would do. So we're talking about giving your body's best for it, but we're talking about the minutiae. Now, there's things that I would consider not the minutiae, like calcium, for example, is non-negotiable at this age for bone health. So we should be having 2 or 3 calcium portions a day, whether it be yogurt, milk. And I think it's something that I want to point out, because lots of people have jumped on this bandwagon of oat milks, almond milks. These are really just flavoured waters. They do not have that calcium content in them. You can buy brands that are fortified with calcium, so you can still have your oat milk, right? but you need to buy ones that are fortified with calcium if you're not getting it from other sources. It comes in bony fish like sardines and lots of our leafy veg as well. But that is something that we need to have in our diet alongside, getting our daylight with our vitamin D. And we don't get much of that in the UK. In fact, the UK guidelines are everyone should be on a vitamin D supplement between at least September and March. So those are both the calcium and the vitamin D will support our bone health. And that is getting more into the specifics. But as far as your carbohydrates, again, I'm going to have cake tonight and that's full of simple sugars. But if I continue to gain more belly fat and everything else is ticked, then I'll probably have to say, right, the time has come where I maybe can't have as much of that stuff as I used to.
Right. Love it.
So, but if someone was asking me, what's the ideal plate for a menopausal woman, I would be saying maybe some whole grain rice or quinoa with your protein source, with a plate full of green vegetables, and maybe a little bit sprinkling of nuts and seeds for those healthy fats. And that's before we can get into a whole other discussion about phytoestrogens and all sorts of specifics. But again, that's for someone who's nailing everything else and really wants the icing on the cake.
Love it. So exciting. I've gained so much knowledge from this. And
I could go on for hours, right?
Oh, well, I could sit and listen to you for hours because I do have a slight, Lorraine knows this, ever so slight concern about ageing and the fact that, I have always been slim and I really like that about myself. I like being slim, but my biggest concern is I'm really into my fitness just now and I have this thing that, oh my gosh, what if I get to a certain age and I can't be as fit as what I am? And everybody's laughing at me going, are you joking, Susie? Don't be silly. So I've got these goals that I'm 46 just now. I've got these goals of certain fitness things that I want to achieve by the time I'm 50, because when I get to 50, well, we don't know if I'll still be able to achieve them. And it's just ridiculous that I've got this, but it's my driver just now. It's really driving me to get into my fitness and stuff. But now I'm like, met Kirsty, so when I get to 50, if my fitness starts to decline, I can just get on the phone to her and I'll be grand.
Yeah, I think but you've made a good point that sometimes we have to reassess the way that we exercise and train, and it doesn't mean all this chat about, oh yeah, you've got a bit of urinary incontinence, you can't run, let's get the disposable pants on. I will not stand for that. Men would not accept that, and women shouldn't. And there's actually, I'm going to share on my page this week some names of some great accounts on Instagram you can follow for pelvic health, because it's super important as well. But having spoke to a lot of athletes that have went through the menopause, they have had to change up the way they train. They have maybe had to cut out some of the endurance because their joints and muscles can't take it. It's not because of aging as much as the hormonal changes are giving them a lot of aches and pains, and they're having to go down more the strength route. So their goals just change.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that I'm really focused on my running at the moment. And that's the reason why there's goals that I want to achieve in my running. But I'm very aware once I've achieved that, I'll be very focused on my yoga and my strength. I do my yoga and my strength training anyway, but I have no goals around them. I just do them for fun. Whereas my running, I have a big goal in my running. And that's the reason why I've made that goal, because I'm like, right, there will be a day when I won't be able to run as fast or as much, or, so.
Well, I've never ran the length of myself, right? It's never something I've ever done, when people ask me the ideal, I say, strength training non-negotiable, your walking is non-negotiable, apart from mental clarity and all the other benefits. Yoga, if you could fit it in this, is amazing. And see, the cardio, just do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
So there's not enough days in the week.
Yeah.
I'm threatening. I'm one of these ones that the yoga, I'm a bit like you. Someone says go do something, I do it. I am a wee bit like that too, but the yoga for me definitely needs to be a habit. I would need to get the mat lying out, and that would be the first job, because it just kind of keeps falling to the bottom of my list at the moment. But I know it's there, and I know that I will benefit from it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, Kirsty, I just want you to share with us, how can people find you? Obviously you do group programs, you do one-on-ones, you're doing some corporate work as well just now. Like, if you could share how people could find you, what services you do offer, in case I've missed anything, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so actually, the Midlife Transform is Kirsty Wilson. The Midlife Transformer is my Facebook page, and my Instagram is just the Midlife Transformer. Most people message me through both of those forums. I am on LinkedIn as well, just as the Midlife Transformer. And I really, to be honest, I'm just starting to kind of dip my toe into the water of LinkedIn, because now the companies that I'm working for are kind of looking for me on there. So on my Instagram is a link in my bio to the courses that I'm running just now. One is a big kind of my signature course, I would say. It's a 12-week course, and it's called the Midlife Transformer course. Now, although some people come on that with goals of changing their body in that time, what actually happens is their whole mindset changes. That's where the real transformation happens. So it's like about, we just can't start with crazy fads at this time in our life. It's about nailing nutrition, nailing our relationship with food. And also it is a progressive strength training program. So they get to work out on the course twice a week minimum, following my programs. And the other course is actually just a 12-week course, which is nothing but exercise. But it's pre-recorded and it's train progression. So it's the same as I would train my clients here at the studio, but people can just log in and do it at their leisure. All you need is a couple of light dumbbells, probably not even that to start. And what I actually, just because I can't help myself, I've actually shot in a little educational video every week into that strength training program as well, because there's this bit of me that's like, you know, the culture that we live in, the society that we live in, people will think, oh, right, I'm going to sign up for a 12-week training program and it's going to transform my total body. Actually, it could, if you've got the nutrition right too. So I've got little tidbits and things in there as well. I don't, for one-to-one coaching at the moment, I'm totally full with a waiting list at the moment for my one-to-one nutrition coaching, but it's a never changing situation because 2 of my perimenopausal women this week fell pregnant.
Wow.
Oh my God.
As much as I would love to have handled their maternity and nutrition, both of them want to save their pennies for their mat leave. So I replaced the 2 ladies on my waiting list signed up. So it's an ever-changing situation, but the online courses are definitely the best way. It's the 11th of January before I'm running a new one of those, but it's I don't cater to the masses. I like to know my ladies. So when ladies sign up to my courses, you know, it's 8 women I have at a time so that they're getting that little bit of a personal, although it's a group training program, they do get that kind of, we get to know each other and can make friends for life. It's not just a face among the masses.
Yeah.
Wonderful. You're doing an amazing job. You really are.
Thank you. I love it. I love it.
You can tell. You can absolutely tell.
Yeah. Love it. And Susie, I think we should maybe get Kirsty on when we do fitness one of the times, don't you, to speak specifically
absolutely
fitness, because there's a whole you know, even for people who are not menopausal, there's, you know, we've obviously got a cycle at that point, haven't we? And there's a way that we should train our fitness fits in with our cycle being women as well. So yeah, I think that'd be brilliant. We could speak to you all day. However, we appreciate your time. So we always end the podcast just by asking our guests to give our listeners one thing that they can go and implement in their lives right now that will help them towards healthy aging.
Get some green vegetables on your plate. It's every single vitamin, mineral, supplement that I am speaking about today, you get from green vegetables, and they can be as simple as a frozen pack that you stick in the microwave. If you stock up your freezer with different frozen, your broccoli, your kale, your green beans, get them in your freezer. There's no excuses. You don't need to run out fresh, and start even with just one meal of the day. And once you've nailed that, you move on to the second.
Brilliant.
Love it. Thank you so much for your time today, Kirsty. Really appreciate it. It's been fantastic learning more about this, getting to know you. Like what Lorraine says, we'll definitely have you on when we do the fitness ones, which will be a few months, you know, just to be the cycle runs. But thank you so much for your time. And to everybody that's listening, please do go check out Kirsty. Like I say, go and do a little bit of Facebook stalking like what I've done. You'll be amazed. Thank you for listening to us again. As always, you can find us on Spotify. We also upload onto YouTube, where you can actually see our lovely faces, but we do prefer listening rather than looking. But it is an option for you if you want to go there as well. And as always, follow us on Instagram, and we have our Facebook group as well. Have a great week, everybody, and thanks for tuning in.